Hello friends, it's Nancy from Astrology and Angel Mediums today with another little tarot spread. Today I will be focusing on the Horseshoe Tarot Spread. This is a 7-card spread that will allow you to get some clarity on your situation and to kind of have a slightly longer spread that you can utilize to kind of either, get some clarity on your journaling or with your current situation, or just to kind of see what's going on overall. So this is a pretty popular one. A lot of people have used this before. We're going to be using the Learning Tarot Cards deck from Witchy Cauldron. All right, so I like sharing different spreads because I think sometimes we get caught up in like using our own thing, that we tend to kind of forget that there may be some good spreads out there that you can kind of utilize to get a little bit of clarity with your situation. So, or I can totally, sometimes these decks are a little too big for my hands and then I end up dropping the cards. So, all right, let's see what we have here. So the very first card, so usually it's a horseshoe, right? So we're going to go from right to left versus left to right. So, but you can kind of lay them out however you want. I'm just going to lay them out in the traditional way. So the very first card is going to be the past. So here we have the 4 of Pentacles reversed. And then we're going to move on to card number 2, which is going to be the present. And here we have Temperance reversed. Then we're going to move on to card number 3, which is going to be the Hidden Influence, which is going to be the Hierophant. This is the hidden influences currently going on. So again, this is going to be the past, the present, the hidden influences. Card number 4 is going to be our obstacles. And here we have the Queen of Cups reversed. And then we have card number 5 as the environment. So here we have the 6 of Swords. And then we have what should be done for card number 6. So here we have the Hermit reversed. And then finally, card number 7 is going to be our outcome. We have the 3 of Cups reversed. So as you can see, it kind of looks like a little horseshoe. Hopefully that is in frame and showing you what I have going on here. Okay, so we're just going to kind of do a sample reading so you can kind of understand how I would interpret these cards. Since I didn't have like a specific thing in mind, I'll see how this kind of applies and how I would read this according to each of the positions. So card number 1 is going to be the past. So we would kind of look at this as, maybe having to look at maybe letting go of people, shedding old patterns, possessions or issues, sharing unwarranted fear of poverty. So that's the past, that maybe what's currently influencing the current situation, and having to kind of like move past certain limitations that you may have on yourself, as well as maybe looking at what in the physical realm is currently holding you back in some ways, as well as maybe there being a little bit of this having to confront some of the things that are currently informing your current situation, because I feel like having the past as an influence, I think it'll be really good to look at, what has been like the root of what's been going on. So with this card, I would definitely say that maybe within this situation, maybe budgeting has been an issue. Maybe it's been hard to budget. Maybe there's something going on surrounding money and possessions and feeling stable. And maybe there's been a lack of foundation or feeling like there's not a lot of like stability in some ways. So if we move on to card number 2, this is going to be the present. So again, another reversed card. And here we have our first major card. So this is the present energy. We have Temperance, which Temperance is a card of like balancing. So right now there may be an imbalance. There's self-indulgence. There's excess. There's a sense of clashing. maybe a lack of perspective, recklessness, hastiness. I would definitely say that at the current moment, it can feel like maybe things are not really moving in a way that feels harmonious or balanced. Maybe there's a lack of patience, a lack of moderation, maybe not feeling very relaxed and kind of comfortable with your situation, which makes sense because if the past is the Four of Pentacles reverse, we're kind of informed that something is not working. Some sort of moderation is out of whack. And so right now, the present may feel very much out of sync with what is going on. And it's very much about understanding our extremes, trying to find the peace in those things. And so right now, again, maybe hastiness, maybe kind of rushing into things, not really paying attention, kind of saying like, okay, what actually feels balanced for me, and things of that nature. So I feel like these cards always end up tattletelling on me when I do these little sample readings for y'all. Okay, so card number 3, these are going to be the hidden influences. So here we have the Hierophant, which is all about traditional institutions, traditional values, the conventional, religion, beliefs, knowledge sharing, social groups, education, knowledge. I like to look at this card as very much like a teaching and learning sort of thing. So maybe this is kind of a reminder that we have to remain teachable. We have to remain receptive to what we're learning. Maybe this is kind of saying like, hey, it's time for you to start teaching others what you've learned. Maybe there's like governing agencies that are kind of the hidden influences here of paying attention to some of like those like meanings, if that makes sense, and like what we truly believe in, like what is a tradition. And so this being the hidden influence, I would look at it as maybe what sort of traditions do we need to embrace, you know? What sort of things do we need to kind of take on within ourselves that maybe are kind of informing how we're showing up? Because if we look at the previous 2 cards, we have the Four of Pentacles reverse kind of saying like, hey, there's been, you know, a lot of issues with what we possess and what we have. And there's a lot of this unwarranted fear. And then there's this imbalance, this self-indulgence, this like hastiness, this kind of like trying to rush through things, not really finding the balance. And so this is maybe saying like, hey, we got to kind of maybe stick to what traditionally works for us, whether that's, you know, taking a step back and kind of saying like, I am someone that does a little bit better when I have a kind of traditional routine. Maybe I feel a little bit more supported if I have, people that believe in me or, you know, can kind of share in that knowledge. All right, so let's move on to card number 4. These are the obstacles. And so here we have the Queen of Cups reverse. So this is maybe kind of saying like, hey, you're not nurturing yourself. I think that this is almost saying like there's a gullibility, maybe not really seeing things quite so clearly, being a little bit too stuck in like, oh, I know all, I see all. And I think that this is maybe saying like there's been a lot that's been sacrificed and like kind of taking a step back to understand like why that is, or where is that really feeding you, or how is that really serving you moving forward. So I think with the Queen of Cups is that maybe there's been a lack of connection to the intuitive. Maybe there's been a lack of creativity, maybe not feeling like you really love what's going on and how things are kind of moving for you right now. So again, I feel like it's almost saying like you need to take some time out to kind of nurture yourself. There's been a lack of not really taking care of yourself. And again, I feel like this is tattling on me, and that's kind of rude because I'm like, these are sample readings. Okay. Card number 5, the environment. So here we have transition, which is, you know, maybe trying to take a step away from certain things, moving forward, letting things kind of become a little bit calmer, overcoming like hardships and feeling a little bit more stable, maybe traveling, you know, giving yourself an opportunity to kind of transition into something else and kind of moving away from anything that you feel has been kind of blocking you. So I think with this card, especially with this being the environment, it's, I almost look at this as like a card that's almost saying like the healing really begins. So maybe the environment is very important and significant to the healing that you're trying to do. So maybe it's an opportunity to say, hey, I gotta like take some time out to, do what I need to do in my space so that I feel more comfortable with what's going on. So again, we have these transitions, we have progress, we have moving forward. And so the environment is kind of trying to urge us into moving into something that feels a little bit more connected for us, especially if we've been feeling a little bit unstable, out of balance, and not really paying attention and nurturing ourselves the way that we need to. Finally, card number 6, we have the Hermit reversed, and this is like what should be done. And it's interesting to have the Hermit reversed. And that's actually the card of this year is the Hermit. And this is actually personally for me a 9 year as well. And so it's been feeling a little bit like, what am I doing? like what is going on with my life? Like kind of questioning a lot of different things. So there may be some loneliness. There may be some paranoia, isolation, being a little bit reclusive, kind of withdrawing in some ways. Feeling a little bit antisocial, restrictive, maybe even paralyzed by fear. Again, with this talking about what should be done is that maybe I'm not honoring my spiritual self. I'm not taking the time out to seek myself out and to listen to my own personal intuition. So it may be a little bit of like this reminder kind of saying like, hey, a lot of these things that you fear, a lot of these things that are kind of stressing you out, they're not happening right now, and worrying about something is like praying for what you don't want, basically. So let's not feel like you can't be yourself out loud. And as someone who is, been struggling with so many different aspects of myself and where I live and what's going on in the world at large, I can definitely say that this is one of the things that I want to do is just kind of like pull back, hide myself away, not be too proactive as far as like what's going on in the world. But I'm trying to push past that. And so I think with what should be done, it's almost saying like maybe, it's more of like having an opportunity to do some of that self-reflection and not allow myself to get kind of carried away with a sense of being lonely and kind of holding back in some ways, if that makes sense. So I think with what should be done is that maybe we're wanting to not move into these like energies of like withdrawing and being paranoid and this and that and the other, because that may be what is not beneficial, especially when we're like trying to move into this transition of what's been going on and feeling a little bit more stable and also learning how to re-nurture ourselves. Now, finally, I know I said finally for this one, but finally card number 7, we have the outcome. So here we have the 3 of Cups reverse. So again, this is an interesting card because it talks about overindulgence, gossiping, bitchiness, a lack of a social life, an unhappy ending, taking advantage of others, harmful excess. So the outcome here, I guess, if we keep on this path of blocking ourselves, not allowing ourselves to feel comfortable with ourselves, not learning what we need to learn, not finding a sense of balance, not transitioning into something else, being very closed off and closed-minded and not being, like ourselves and sacrificing too much, is that there is an overindulgence. Overindulgence isn't always an overindulgence in the sense of overdoing something that's always great. It can be even doing things that are not that great for you. And so right now it can feel very much like things are not really coming together in a way that we can actually celebrate and enjoy, or having a sense of friendship. So there may be some challenges because I have not confronted and done some of this work that is kind of letting me know like this is where you're headed. So to me, I like to look at readings as a, to be forewarned is to be forearmed. So I'm being kind of told here, hey, if you keep on this path and if you don't do anything and you don't change anything, the outcome will be this, like a lack of a social life, which I already feel. I've been extremely busy with my new business and trying to balance all the spinning plates at the current moment. I feel like I really don't get to talk to anybody or see anybody that I value and have relationships with. So it's been a little bit challenging because I'm trying to find that balance. I'm trying to find that balance between what's needed for stability and what's needed for my nurturing. So again, these cards always tattle on me. And the bitchiness, I mean, that's what it is, right? I have a Cancer moon and Venus, so I'm just crabby by nature, I guess. And the thing with taking advantage of others is that I think with this energy is maybe not so much taking advantage of others as maybe just not paying attention to what sort of relationships you're co-creating around yourself. And I think with the Hermit reverse, that's another thing is kind of maybe coming off as though you're only there when you need them versus being a little bit more in flow in those relationships and connections. So this is the Horseshoe Spread. That tattle told on me a little bit in a very rude way, but let me know if you've ever seen this. Do you guys like 7-card spreads? I don't typically use a lot of spreads with like my traditional kind of like client readings. I just kind of pull whatever feels natural and then just kind of read them in a very intuitive way. But I think spreads for myself and for like my own journaling are fantastic in allowing me to kind of really focus my questions or my situation in one area and really pay attention to maybe some of the things that I'm missing out on, like this or everything else that came out. So let me know what you guys think of this reading. I want to say thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a good one. Take care, stay safe, and make good choices. Bye.